And I'm just gonna be turning my camera off, but I'm here.
Yep.
I am as well, so nobody gets dizzy.
All right, I'm just gonna give it 2 more minutes, just in case there's any stragglers, and then we'll get rolling.
Hey, Cara, just letting you know, Debbie's with me. That's why it says Christopher and Deborah.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, Anna.
Hi, Chris.
You okay?
It sounded like somebody just joined.
Yes, that was Jess.
Okay.
Hi, Jerry.
Hello, Jess.
Sorry, I was having some computer issues here.
That's okay. We're just gonna give it another minute, and then we're gonna get going.
Okay.
Alrighty, it's 4:35, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order. As most of you probably know, it's gonna be an unofficial meeting because we don't have an in-person quorum. So we're gonna dispense with the approval of the agenda and the minutes, since we can't vote on it anyway. Lisa, did you want to give a quick thing on the bylaw revision? Again, we can't vote on it today, but you just want to give us a quick overview, or?
So I do want to, sure. So we, as many of you heard in PCAC, we are doing a review of an overhaul and a review of our bylaws so that they're consistent across council. The LIRRCC has few. Our major revision that we're seeking is more legislative, and we are still waiting for that passage. We had it passed in the House. I'm sorry, I may be breaking up. So, Brian, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think what Lisa was trying to say is, for the bylaws, we're trying to make them consistent between the councils, because there's right now some differences that don't make a ton of sense. The changes are pretty minor for LIRRCC, just essentially adding the bike ped member, adding a mechanism for removing members if they're not hitting the meeting requirements. The meeting requirements are spelled out pretty clearly, but there's no mechanism for removing them, even though I know we went through that process when we were together in Mineola last. But what Lisa was alluding to is that most of the other changes, like changing the authorizing legislation from 3 nominees to 1, is a legislative change that has to take place in Albany. We can't, that unfortunately we can't do just via the bylaws. So it's just a few minor changes that we're proposing to make them more consistent. Add the bike ped member, update the number of people that are part of the committee, etc.
And the one other thing that we're looking into, which was raised at PRC, is whether what level the governor's office needs to be involved in an actual removal process. For this council, we did reach out, Jerry, as you saw, to the Suffolk County Executive's office to see if the recalcitrant member would be pleased to be removed by that office. I have not heard back yet.
And that would seem to make sense, instead of the ones who made the initial nomination. So,
right. So Jack had a conversation yesterday to see. Oh no, that was a different conversation. That was about the authorizing legislation. But we're still seeking ways for removal.
Yeah, I also mentioned Peter.
Okay,
so
great.
we'll see. But, I couldn't bring up LIRRCC without mentioning our best friend Peter.
alrighty. So I guess best thing to do is we'll just table this for now. We do have an overview of what we're looking for. Alrighty, so moving down to the chair's report. At the June MTA board meeting, the long-awaited contract to purchase 160 M9A cars was approved. This purchase will allow the LIR to retire all of the remaining M3 cars currently in service and at the end of their useful service lives, as well as provide a few dozen additional cars that can be added to existing service and help relieve overcrowding on certain rush hour trains. Unfortunately, it will take a few years for these cars to be designed and manufactured, with the first of the M9s not expected to be in revenue service until 2030, 5 years out. A recent audit conducted by the New York State Controller's Office claimed that the Long Island Railroad overstated the amount of additional service provided by the Long Island Railroad after the opening of Grand Central Madison. The Long Island Railroad stands by their statistics. Also, during the audit, the controller stated that the Long Island Railroad needed to do a better job of addressing riders' complaints. It has been our experience that the Long Island Railroad, for the most part, generally does a good job addressing commuter complaints, but we do hear of the occasional rider who hasn't been able to get satisfaction, and apparently the controller has also heard from them. Newsday ran an editorial on the controller's report back on July 3rd. The LIR has announced the start of the summer Saturday discount program in an effort to get monthly ticket holders to take mass transit more often during the summer months. Under this program, monthly ticket holders can travel anywhere the Long Island Railroad goes in July and August and bring up to 2 guests who will pay $1 each per trip. There are 3 Montauk and 1 Greenport trains that are exempt from this program. While the MTA is still planning on raising fares another 4% this year, it won't be over the summer as initially anticipated. MTA leadership has stated that the fare increases will be tied to the phase-in of the MetroCard at the end of 2025 and will be accompanied by new or increased fare incentives for riders. Operationally, the Long Island Railroad is doing quite well. Ridership in May reached 88.1% of their highest post-pandemic percentage. It was their highest post-pandemic percentage for an entire month. On-time performance continues at record levels, with May coming in at 96.7%, which coincidentally is the year-to-date OTP. And that wraps up my report. Anybody has any questions? If there are no, and if there are no questions, we can move down to that. Kara, do you see anybody's hand up, or?
No hands
Yes.
up, or Britt.
I don't know. Brian and Kara, maybe you can answer. I don't know if now is a good place to bring up the M9 order. I know I sent an email last week that I have not been able to follow up on, but I had elevated some concerns that I saw about the M9A order, suggesting that they were maybe over-engineered and not as versatile as some advocates would like. Brian, I appreciated your response. I haven't had much time to dig into it. I was wondering if there's any, like, would be our options for investigating, further investigating that issue, because I'm not an engineer. I know that people love to debate these things. But I don't know if now is the right time in the agenda to bring this up or later.
But you know what, you're concerned, maybe not at this particular meeting, but you've already sent your email. We can, talk to people at the LIRR about this and have them get back to you. To be perfectly honest, I don't think we have a lot of options. As for what they want to do with these trains, they want to get them into production as quickly as possible. And what they're looking at is something that's consistent with the train service that they have now. I'm trying to remember your email. What in particular were you looking for? The ability to travel other routes, or?
So, but
Yeah.
the other thing is that they want to be consistent, so they can also order that they can do across Metro North and the Long Island Railroad. And these M9As, even though they may have some differences, can do both. So that
Oh, they can
Yeah.
they can do catenary and third rail.
No, that's what some of the differences are.
Okay.
But some of the issues I think that you had raised were about the weight of the train cars and about speed. And I know Stuart in the past has raised whether or not they can take high-speed curves. And that is not the way that tracks are built at the moment as well. So it would perhaps be part of a redesign or re-engineer. So I think that that's a good conversation for a broader a broader discussion when we can get some more details. And we can also bring in more details from the railroad and the designers.
Great, thanks.
All righty. Anybody else have anything?
We have a hand up from Adam.
All right.
Good afternoon. Just because you're mentioning the M9A cars, are there any plans to increase the leg room or seating space? Because for most people, and I'm not particularly tall or big, but it's very hard to fit 3 people in a 3-seater. Or is the spacing going to be, are we going to have the same issues we're having now with the M7 and M9 with not being able to fit?
Again, they just released the contract. They haven't even gone into design yet. So we really don't know what they're looking at. I would imagine they would probably design them the same way as the M7s and the M9s. But I'm not 100% sure of that. That's something we'd have to ask the railroad.
Yeah, the pictures look like the same spacing issues that we have now, where it's really hard to fit in the seats.
All right. Well, that's unfortunately, we don't have any information at this time. Like I said, the contract's just being released now. In fact, board just approved them to release the contract. So the ink's probably not even dry on them yet. Do you have anything else, Adam, while you're at it, or?
No, that's all. Just if as the process goes, if the committee would consider advocating for some improvements in seat size and leg space for the passengers when the time comes for that.
We can ask the question, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
There were federal guidelines in regard to airlines that the Trump administration put out in regard to seat size. So I don't know if that refers to rail size too. I don't know how far that goes.
I don't believe that it does.
And one of the considerations is if you increase seat sizes, so if you decide to go with two on each side of the aisle instead of 2 and 3, you're going to lose that many seats. I mean, that was a concern when they first brought the M7s in, that they were losing space because they had to have additional areas for the handicap areas, and the capacity of the trains went down. Not a lot. I think it was 5 or 6 seats, but it did. So if they were to reconfigure to give you some more leg room, again, it would decrease the capacity that each car could hold.
It would definitely decrease the official capacity, the official number of seats, but it may increase the realistic capacity, because realistically 3 people are not sitting in those. You have 1 person in a 2-seater and 2 people in a 3-seater. You have 3 people per row, not 5. And if you went to a 2-2 configuration, yes, the literal capacity would be less, but in practicality, there would be more actual passengers being able to be seated.
Okay, that's something to consider.
Thank you.
We have a hand up
Alrighty.
from Chris and Deborah as well.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, hey, Jerry, I agree with what you're saying, and Larry, because there's one thing that I do remember being on the Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force. We had to test out the train, how the accessibility goes in there. And you are correct saying handicap, because in federal regulation, it is the word we have to use in regulation. So I just want to I agree with Jerry, what you said. One thing that what the 9A train supposed to look like, but they might have to do some adjustments, is to making sure that a wheelchair or walker or times stroller has enough room to make a complete turn. Because on the M8s, on the Metro North New Haven trains, they do have room for them to do a nice turn spin clockwise. We have seen this on the M9. The M7 is a bit tight. So I do remember because I'm looking at my records from when Edith and I did check it out on the M9. It does give additional little room for them. But regarding the seating, it does make it a little more headache room. Because as Adam said, it's correct. We need to have easier access to seating because if we're gonna do the same way what the other two sets are doing, that's wasting a seat. So that's something we definitely need to work on and making sure accessibility is in that category. Thank you, guys.
Sounds like a good statement that can come from the audience at one of the upcoming MTA meetings. Just thinking out loud.
So agree with you, Jerry, and so Debbie.
Alrighty, so with no further hands up, I don't think, we'll go to Anna Garcia for some updates.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's staying cool out there. And I apologize if there's any background noise. Some of our guys are doing some repairs behind me, so I do apologize in advance. So just a couple of things I know folks wanted me to talk on, and of course, a couple of just regular updates on our end. Just as of right now, we're still on a good path with all our projects right now. You're still expected to have completion of the Laurelton, Locust Manor, St. Albans, and Auburndale, which is just the elevator replacement, and Balashim's elevator replacement and the escalator replacements to be completed by the end of this year. And obviously we're in full swing at Hollis, Forest Hills, and Babylon. So all really exciting stuff going on there. So with the East River rehab that we've been going on for a while now, we've been really lucky that there hasn't been any impacts to service, since I know that there was a bit of an issue at the beginning when the project first started, but we've been really lucky that there hasn't been any initial impacts to service or anything like that. As of right now, our operations team are always anticipating the unexpected. So always, if in case something does happen, we will be on site. And as mentioned, I know Gerald, you mentioned this before. I know with the MTA away not taking place this summer, and I know folks are pretty sad, but of course, like you mentioned, we do have the summer Saturdays, and I know you pretty much went in depth in about that. But I can mention that the 3 Montauk trains are the 7:13 a.m., the 8:14, and the 10:29. Those are coming. Those are from Jamaica to Montauk. And to Greenport, it's the 7:47 train from Grand Central to Ronkonkoma, and then the connection, which is the 9:14 that takes you from Ronkonkoma to Greenport. So we're hoping to have an update on the MTA away program next summer. So that's something to look forward to, and something hopefully I can give you that update when we get there. And of course, I know we spoke a bit about the procurement of new trains. I know that's something that's really exciting. All of us are really excited for 160 new trains. And that goes into my leeway about summer overcrowding. And I know with people having questioning or had any concerns about the summer schedules, I know there has been a couple of trains that folks have noticed that we have added additional busing just due to overcrowding. But we're hoping with this new procurement, we would have less of these conversations in the coming year. So hopefully with the new train cars, we would see less overcrowding and more train service. And lastly, I know folks were concerned about the MetroCard sunsetting and seeing how it affects us. I would just say, folks, while it doesn't have any immediate impacts to us, obviously, if you are an Omni user, or if you have a smartphone with the, I think it's Samsung or Apple Pay compatibility, you should be fine. But that goes into something I know that we've been talking for a while now with the new ticket machine. So I know we're rolling out our pilot program in a couple of weeks. We're actually just going to select stations as of right now. And we will be reviewing, in the Google app, thank you, Chris. So the new ticket machines, we're going to be rolling out to a couple of stations, and it's going to be a pilot program for about a month or so while we actually just go through all the data. And then, of course, we're hoping to anticipate the remaining rollout by the end of this year. Once that is out and about, I definitely can give more of a better broad update once I have the confirmed stations. I think I wanted to keep it short and sweet. I think that was the broad of my updates, but if there's any questions, let me know.
Well, one question that I've been getting, I don't know when it exactly happened. Railroad, some of the, had switched over to paper tickets on some of the monthlies, and they're kind of awkward in their size or whatever. So I haven't actually seen one of the new paper tickets yet, but I know commuters don't appear to be too happy with them. Are we gonna go back to the other standard monthly tickets we used to have at some point in the not too distant future?
That I believe is part of the pilot program. I think, and that's something definitely, the feedback of folks getting those new style tickets. I could definitely get back to you on that, but can't give you confirmation. But I think once we have the new ticket machines, I think there was an issue, I believe, with some of the printed tickets. So I definitely will get back to you on seeing what would we be implementing in the future.
Yeah, one of the things is, a paper ticket for a monthly by the 20th of the month or the 21st of the month, the thing's kind of ratty. You keep taking it in and out of your wallet or whatever. So that is definitely a concern. And, this is just the feedback that I've been getting is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why did they make the change? And I couldn't answer that question for them. So if you could just put that back to the powers that be, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. I definitely will share that concern with folks.
Okay. Do we have any hands up for Anna?
Yes, we have Britt as the only member with his hands up, and then Adam after that.
Okay, Britt, you're up.
Thanks. Hi, and I have a question about the Atlantic branch schedule. I would appreciate if you could look into, namely the gap between in the morning between 10:17 and 11:14. I was looking around to see if there's any comment from the MTA or LIRR explaining this like almost hour-long gap. I haven't been able to find anything. I just find, in the latest schedule update on the website mentioning 20-minute service in the midday. Is there an explanation or a reason for like the hour-long gap in that one part of the schedule, or are there any plans to try to get that in line with the 20-minute service?
Yeah, and I'm just curious, this gap, is this only going eastbound or is it going towards Atlantic Terminal?
Yes, this is towards Jamaica from Atlantic Terminal.
Okay, I can find that out. I know that we're gonna have some outages for a bit just because we're gonna be doing some switch replacement. I'm not sure if that is due to some prep work, but I don't want to assume. I know that's something that we're going to be doing at the end of this month. I believe it starts on the 25th until, I think until mid-August. Then we're gonna be doing a couple of weekend outages to do switch work. But I will confirm about the gap of service that's going eastbound. And I'll get back to you.
It looks like I admit I'm mostly familiar with the eastbound service just from my personal experience, but checking the schedule now, there is also an hour gap westbound from Jamaica into Atlantic. There's a 9:52 and then there's not one until 10:53.
I was there. I experienced that on Monday too. I was coming from Jamaica trying to go to.
The Brooklyn gap you speak of is a long running thing. Originally it was only on Tuesday mornings. They said for maintenance, and then they extended it to all the mornings. Either from the very beginning of Grand Central, or it may even be going on a year or two before Grand Central. The 10 to 11 a.m. gap in both directions in Brooklyn. Originally they said it would only be on Tuesdays for construction, but in one of the timetables it became every day. So that's a long-standing issue, like so many long-standing issues that I see not getting addressed. But that's a big one that Britt brings up.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, it might be due to, like you mentioned, just due to ongoing work. It might be prep work, but I'll confirm and definitely get back to you all. Definitely back to you, Britt. Thank you for letting me know.
Thanks.
We definitely appreciate that. Yes, the representative who represents Brooklyn.
Yes. So this issue certainly predates Britt joining us. It's something I've been aware of for a long time, that from roughly 10 to 11 a.m.
Well, this is why we appreciate having, members of the general public on here. These are things that, we don't analyze every schedule every time one comes out. So we need people to point that out to us about, hey, do you know, there's an hour gap here. So that we can go back to the railroad and ask them, well, why is that? What can we do to, to mediate that? So we greatly appreciate that. And again, it's good to have a Brooklyn rep because Britt keeps a close eye on what's going on that particular branch. All right, you have any other hands up?
I
think Adam
didn't
did.
do my question because I wound up talking about Brits,
Okay, yeah,
which
go ahead.
was an important one. So in Ms. Garcia's presentation, the MetroCard sunset is a concern for me this summer because with the issues on the Port Washington branch, I have to use Nice Bus, which doesn't have Omni. So certainly any decrease in MetroCard stations or stations with machines and things like that are a major concern. I also have to remember that if I'm crossing the Nassau border, not to use to Omni, that I have to go back to MetroCard. And I don't think it's an issue that's being given enough attention for those of us in Long Island. Of course, ideally, we would have a functioning Long Island Railroad so that I wouldn't have to use the bus as often. But as I said at the most recent LIR committee meeting, the trains have been having lengthy holds on the Port Washington branch, especially this summer during the construction between stations, which I don't find it safe to be on board those trains, given the length of time that they're stopping between Woodside and Flushing. About a year ago, they stopped holding trains in the station until the path was clear to the next station. I mean, for me, even 2 minutes is a serious concern that I've brought up in these meetings recently, but it's been closer to 10 minutes on the Port Washington. This weekend, trains were also holding on the Montauk branch because Stu is here between 20 and 30 minutes in the Mastic Shirley siding, that they don't hold the train in the prior station until the path is clear anymore. With all the different kinds of emergencies that can happen, it's just not safe. And plus, the train leaves Woodside knowing there's going to be a 5, 10, 15-minute hold. And what if the train that it's waiting for halfway between stations runs into an issue? That train can't back up to Woodside. Then you have well, I think a 10, 15-minute is a really heavy safety negligence issue, but then you have something really far worse than that. And obviously, any of the safety concerns I brought up to LIRR, nobody's responded to me on the better part of 6 months to a year. As I said, I come to these meetings because it's really the only place to get any information on what's going on. And things are really, really bad. And it's nothing to do with Ms. Garcia, but it's very frustrating to hear the good news presentations that we get from LIR at these meetings, and more importantly, the ones at the board meetings, given how bad things are and also how badly us customers are being treated. Thank you.
So Adam, I just want to weigh in about the Nice Bus situation, because I know that Nice is in the process of working to put in place their tap readers.
Yes.
So that's not something, I mean, so that's on them also. So there has to be, it's two different systems, which is, you can't blame the MTA for that.
But the
Right.
MTA should be waiting until the neighboring systems are ready instead of putting us people just outside the city in this position.
They may never
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
be ready, and then as everybody else getting held up. So I think, okay, they may never be ready. So I think that they have a timeline, and I think that they're both in place. So you can still use both. You can still use MetroCard. So it's not like it's gone away. You can still use it in both systems.
Well, Metro still good till the end of the year anyway, right? With the MTA.
Yeah.
The problem is ticket machines in terms of filling it. The MetroCard machines are not being maintained like the Omni machines for those of us who depend on MetroCard because we use systems like Nice.
Okay, point taken.
Thank you.
Definitely, Adam, I definitely will share that concern, with folks definitely above me to just see, what the next steps would be. And in regards to if you have any open tickets or concerns, in regards to our customer engagement team, I definitely will follow up to see if there's anything open in folks.
They closed them all without response. They're all marked closed, but none of them were ever answered or addressed or even acknowledged.
Understood. I'm not part of the customer engagement team, so I wouldn't know, I can't see that system to see which tickets are open or not, but I will follow up with them if there is.
Yeah, I only say that because you asked me about open tickets, and obviously I can't answer that because they went ahead and closed them. So that's the only reason I mentioned that.
Exactly. I appreciate you providing your feedback on that situation.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other hands up?
There's a hand from Chris again.
All right, Chris.
Hi, just to add one thing, this is for Adam, because I have mentioned this already, and this was mentioned already, and I hope you heard when I'm saying this also.
I'm having some trouble hearing Chris.
Okay, 1 second. So, Anna, 1 second. Anna, you can hear me. Just shake your heads. Guys, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, because it's hard to hear you, and also it's a little difficult just because the guys are working a little closer to me at this point. So maybe if you want to send over your question, if you go right in the chat, and then somebody can get back to me on that, just because it's a little hard to hear from you right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is right now is, this is for Adam. If you have a reduced fare Metro card, you can still use it. If you already traded in, you can still get a reduced fare Metro card again with the reduced fare vehicle that's located in Queens or in the Bronx. If you already have the Metro card reduced fare, keep it with you and keep your Omni card. This has been announced for over 3 months already. And this was mentioned, even all the officials in Queens and Bronx are aware of this. And yes, the Brooklyn Borough President has been aware of this as well, because there is no Nice Bus in Brooklyn. But until Nice Bus starts getting themselves together, as well as Beeline, everyone should be keeping their reduced fare MetroCard with them. They can get replacements only at the borough they're in, which is Queens or Bronx. Only. Because you need to have the proof if you are using Nice Bus or Beeline Bus. Reduced fare and MTA accessibility is aware of this. I have seen people already doing it. I know Comrie's office is doing something next Thursday, thank God. And that is one thing I'm just adding in. The second thing I want to add in, because Anna, you mentioned something earlier. One thing you did get something done, and I want to thank you, Anna and guys. Woodside Station, as you know, they're doing construction. We have fixed those signages over there. And the only thing I'm getting is compliments. So if you get a chance to tell Nick, tell him, muchas gracias, is I'm getting from people. Doche or sheche, if I'm saying also thank you. So just to let you guys know, that's one good news on there. And happy Disability Pride Month.
Absolutely. Happy Disability Pride Month. No, thank you. Thank you, Chris. I saw the signs out in Woodside and looked great, and thank you for your help on that. So just, I know that we had some good updates here, and I know that, MTOA not being on here this summer, I know people are a little disappointed, but other than that, all as well. And, if there's any questions, please feel free to send them over. And definitely we'll get back to you on the Brooklyn service gap. Definitely will be something I'll try to get back to you within the next week.
And regarding MTA away, we have expressed our concerns to the MTA board regarding that. And I think one of the staff members brought that up during public testimony, either last month or the month before. Alrighty, so if there are no other questions for Anna, we can go down to the executive director's report.
Thank you.
Can I just add in one brief thing I left out about the MetroCard issue? Chris did mention the refilling issue. The other issue is with this bus redesign on June 29. the fact that the MetroCard people aren't getting the second transfer. So lots of people are paying 2 fares that used to pay 1, which was one of the promises that wasn't going to occur.
I will definitely share that with my transit counterparts and see, because I'm sure that I think I've heard a similar complaint at a town hall. But I'll share that with my transit counterparts. Thanks, Adam.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, Lisa, would Brian be able to give the executive director statement? Because
I'm asking Brian to do that because I'm fading in and out.
So
fading
Brian
away.
just stepped out to do a news interview. Actually, Brian just got back. If you want, I can do the social media report right now, and then Brian can give that report. We could swap those around.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, sounds good. I'll start with the social media report. So just a few things this month. First of all, there were a lot of reports of overcrowding, both on Twitter and on other forums like TikTok, especially on the Montauk branch over the 4th of July weekend, which is to be expected that there were a lot of riders. But even with the additional service that was added this year, there were a lot of videos and pictures of overcrowding on farther east on the trains coming back to the city at the end of the weekend. And also some overcrowding noted on the shorter Greenport 2-car trains. And the Train Time app had showed those cars as either completely full or crowded, and that's a shorter scoot train. So there were some calls for those to be extended. And there's also a couple of reports of ongoing car cleaning and air conditioning issues, specifically on the M3s with the air conditioning problems, although the Long Island Railroad customer communications team has seemed very responsive to those issues on social media, particularly when riders give the car number so that they're able to immediately identify those issues. And then lastly, there have been some ongoing complaints about trains not holding for long enough at terminals and also transfer points, leading to people either rushing to make trains if maybe the train pulls into Penn Station and then has to leave a couple of minutes later, or missing connections at Jamaica, which Jerry has been a vocal champion for those to be reinstated, time connections.
All right, and they are kind of, in some cases, not so much Jamaica because they have so many trains and they don't want to create a logjam, but they are listening to us a little bit. I just saw an email alert the other day. They held a train in Babylon 10 minutes for late arriving equipment coming in out of New York, which is great. You know, normally they just let the train go, and I've fought that battle in the past. What are you doing? And people have to hang out on the platform in Babylon for, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes for the next one to come through. So I was just very happy to see that you know, they held that train for 10 minutes. And
that's great.
And it's logical because you're really not, because the traffic east of Babylon isn't that much, so you're not really holding anybody up by holding that train. Do we have any other questions for or comments for Kara on the communications and social media?
I think Adam has his hand up.
Just in terms of the issue you just discussed, I know Jerry's been trying to work on time connections at Jamaica and advocating for that. And I thought of this the other day. Obviously, there's much less train traffic through Jamaica on weekends. If maybe there'd be more success at advertising for time connections on Saturdays and Sundays only as an initial step before trying to advocate for it more universally, or to try that as a first step.
That's an excellent point. And just you know, to be honest, I wasn't able to follow up, but I did mention prior to a board meeting your concerns that you had brought up that one weekend about the 57-minute gap, you know, for Port Washington people trying to go to Grand Central Madison. Whether they held those trains to 3 minutes or not, I don't know. But
it became a moot point because they canceled city-bound local service that same weekend. So there was it.
All
yeah,
right.
so and they did advertise eventually to use the 7 subway. They corrected the advertising.
Okay. I appreciate it. It's good to know.
Thank you.
All righty. Anybody else for Kara?
Doesn't look like it.
All righty. Brian, you ready to go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So we had a busy and interesting end to the legislative session in Albany. We were very pleased that the nominating legislation to change the number of recommendations needed for LIRCC passed the Assembly. Unfortunately, unlike last year, when it passed the Senate, it did not pass the Senate this year. So we need both things, parts of the legislature to pass it in order to send it to the governor. There's some chance that if the Senate comes back into session later this year, they might include it in a package of bills that could be advanced, but we're not extremely hopeful of that happening. Kind of similarly, we made some real progress on the Rider Act this session. It passed the Senate, which is the furthest it's gotten, and with the support of Senator Gennardis from South Brooklyn. He spoke really strongly about the need to support the bill on the Senate floor. So we were thrilled to see that get passed. Unfortunately, with the short session, since the budget was passed so late, there was not enough time to get it through the Assembly. But again, it's good progress, and every step that it takes in previous sessions makes it more likely that it'll pass in the next one. So we'll keep on those. Likewise, on the federal side of things, it's sort of been a no news is good news on federal funding for the capital plan and everything moving with congestion pricing. Really, there hasn't been any indication, or major ones at least, that federal funding to the MTA's capital plan is currently under threat, which is great. It's certainly something that that we and the other advocates are very concerned about and keeping our eye on, but so far so good. And likewise, the congestion pricing lawsuits continue to seem to track in a good direction. So we're hopeful that that continues. Otherwise, we've released three reports in the last 8 days. The first was a very city-focused one on the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission and how it can have a much larger, transit-oriented view of its housing policies. That was a white paper we also submitted as official public comment before the last meeting of the revision committee. Our intern Henry put together an excellent report, probably the prettiest report that PCAC has ever done on bus rapid transit and what that could look like using Northern Boulevard and Flatbush Avenue as two case studies, and really doing some thoughtful design concepts of what it would actually look like on the street. We had a really great piece from Barbara Russo in AM New York as an exclusive on that. That came out on Tuesday. And then just this morning, we released our results of our Omni rider experience survey. We had almost 400 riders talk to us about what they liked about Omni, the convenience of being able to tap with any product, and some of the things that they'd like to see improved and their hopes for the future. So a lot of good feedback from riders on that survey. The Times did a story on it this morning, and Lisa and I have been a little bit busy talking with other outlets, ABC, CBS, and 1010 Wins about the survey, with possibly more to come. So really good results. We'll pop those in the chat if folks are interested. Yeah, we've been keeping busy both during the end of the legislative session and in the couple weeks since. So I think.
Hey, Brian, just a thought, and I think you might be able to get some of the other advocates, even from other fields, not even transit fields, that personally, I think this should be a law, and I'm gonna bring it up whenever I see my assemblyman or my state senator. If one house passes a bill, the other house should at least vote on it. If they don't like it, they don't have to pass it. But I don't know how many times over the years, and for various things, I'm also kind of involved in education, and we do some advocating on that front. And we'll get bills passed through one house, and it won't get passed through the other house. And then, like what happened to us, the next year it could be just the opposite. You'll get it past the Senate,
Yeah.
you don't pass the Assembly. And it's not that you don't get it passed. That's fine if they honestly don't think it's worth, but it doesn't even hit the floor for a vote. And I think that's something that we should advocate for, is if one house passes a bill, that the other house should at least put it on the floor for a vote.
Yeah, I think especially in a session where there were really only 3 or 4 weeks of actual voting after the budget. Getting everything done, all the business that needs to the state needs to take care of is incredibly difficult. So,
And
yeah,
it's not just us. I have a friend who's an environmentalist, and she has the same frustrations we do. They got it past one house, and the other house didn't even let it out of committee. And it's like you feel like you're banging your head against the wall sometimes.
Chris and then Britt.
You're preaching to the choir, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let him go first because he's a member. I'm just a guest.
All right, Britt and then Chris.
Thanks. Congrats on the reports. Has PCAC commented on the 2-person train operation bill that passed?
We haven't, and I know historically we tend to stay out of labor-related issues. Lisa, do you want to? Sorry, you were going to jump in.
I guess Lisa's in a dead zone.
Yeah, Britt, we haven't been asked, and I think we tend not to weigh in on issues quite like this. I think, we've seen the arguments on both sides of this issue, but haven't weighed in because it's typically not been our place.
Got it. Thanks.
If perhaps something like that was a concern where it'd be a safety issue, then we might consider weighing in. If we felt that there was any kind of putting the riders in jeopardy, but we haven't seen any issues like that. So like Brian just said, if it's a labor issue, we kind of just try and step back a little bit.
Understood. Yeah, and this literal bill, I think, is more of a transit issue too, because I think it's only NYCT and would only affect a few of the smaller trains on NYCT in the short term. But noted. Thank you.
And that's something, you can relay those concerns through the PCAC office, and then they can forward that on, like to Andrew Albert, over at New York City Transit Riders, and perhaps something he can bring up at one of his meetings, or it might already be a concern of theirs, for all we know.
Yeah. Lisa also mentioned in the chat that it's been raised as a collective bargaining concern in the past. Yeah, that's been the more typical forum for this. So I think a lot of people were surprised to see it come out of the legislature at the end of the session. Chris?
Yeah, regarding the survey, how are we doing so far with the survey? Is it ending or we're still continuing doing the survey?
So the Omni survey has now closed. I think it's technically still on the website because we want people to be able to see the questions since we did just publish the results. So you're still able to see the questions, but we are no longer looking for submissions. We have published the report, and the New York Times and some other outlets are reporting on it. So thank you to everyone who has shared the survey and filled it out.
Yeah, because I'm getting a lot of people who are asking me this, and I said I told them already it's ended. So just wanted to be clarified so I can say to people it ended. You did it already.
I mean, we'll be happy to take their feedback, you know, just like any other concern they have, they're always welcome to email us. Certainly. And if they do put in a response, we'll see it. But officially it's complete at this point.
No, well, thank you, Brian, for, because I have to say, looking at this survey was a really good survey, because a lot of people I know want to put their questions and comments in on it. So I just want to say thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think it was really timely, and you know, we were pretty impressed with how much feedback we got in a short period of time, and hopefully I think put together a good list of recommendations, you know, that they had, the MTA and Cubic have enough time to act on them before the MetroCard is sunsetted at the end of the year, which is also when it looks like they're going to do the fare increase, and also perhaps, we hope, a set of fare incentives as well that will include a number of the things that we've been talking about for quite a while. So yeah, a lot to come.
Let's pray we don't have the fare hike.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly part of it. We'll see what comes.
Well, that's already been delayed by a number of months, because normally, you know, when we have the every other year fare hike, it usually comes in the summertime. And as it stands right now, the earliest it could probably come would be October.
Yeah.
Because even if they decide at this month's July meeting, all they can do at this month's July meeting is set the hearings in motion, and then there's no August meeting, so they couldn't vote on a fare hike, an official fare hike, until the September MTA board meeting. And you know, that's at the end of September. So I mean,
Yeah.
the earliest they could, and they always roll it out at the beginning of a month. So at the earliest, I think we'd see it's October, and more realistically, probably November.
Yeah, Jeno said that the plan was to tie it to the sunset of the MetroCard at the end of the year. So I think that's what the current thinking is, based on what he said at a press conference that was unrelated about a week ago.
Well, the more they delay it, the happier people will be, I think.
Yeah, you could say that again.
Do we have anybody else with their hands up, or?
Nope, that's it.
All righty. Anybody have any old business they want to put on the floor? Does anybody have any new business they want to put on the floor?
I have something brief. When we have a quorum again, I would love to revisit the subject of advocating for renovation of the East New York station again on the Atlantic branch. I know this is a subject that has come up in the context of a lot of the ongoing development around East New York and Broadway Junction, both public and private. And I don't know, I think Andrew at the Transit Council has maybe mentioned this to me, but I don't know if this body has commented on that station in particular, because it really could use a renovation. And with the IBX and the new capital plan coming, this would seem to be a good opportunity.
Definitely. Sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, Kara, maybe that's something we can go back. I don't know, maybe it's 3 or 4 years already. I do remember that coming up.
With 6 years.
So
I remember particularly East New York, and there were some politicians involved. I think they even had like a little press conference on the platform there. And I just kind of assumed that there was something under consideration, and I never followed up because I figured it was in motion, and sometimes these things take time. But yeah, I know that the station is was, it probably still is if you're bringing it up now, in pretty much disrepair.
Yes, so Jerry is right. And then also, I think about a year and a half ago, Lisa and I had joined another press conference that was focused on accessibility at the East New York station. lighting and accessibility in general. A lot of community groups were there as well. And I think particularly in the context of that larger redevelopment plan that you mentioned, Britt, and then I think now that the IBX is planned to go somewhere nearby, I know that there's a lot of consideration going in terms of just thinking about the higher level station design in that complex. But I do think Lisa in the chat is right that that is under consideration in some form. I'm not completely sure if it's in the next capital plan or not, but we definitely have heard about that station in recent months. But we can also
great.
follow up and check in about that.
Great, yeah, and I know in addition, like beyond the transit agencies, I think EDC and or DOT is funding a big redesign of Van Sinderen Avenue, right when you get out of the station, with I think the idea being that that's where people who transfer to the subway at Broadway Junction will do an out-of-system transfer. So I think there's been a little movement on that, but I would, if we could give a nudge from the rider perspective, I think that would be a great idea.
Definitely. Thank you for bringing that up.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, something we'll definitely, look into and get back to you on.
Excuse me, Jerry, this is Chris. Can I add something? Because since I do have an update on the junction, because I do know what's been going on there, because I did have MTA active as an active member, community outreach officer. We had a meeting with them a couple of years ago, and Carl, you were there with me. This was when Lisa was on vacation. Brian, you weren't even in yet, but we had another person. To answer your question, EDC is aware of this, and as of Lisa just put in, it was correct. I want to back up Lisa. Broadway Junction on the A and C platform just started. East New York was adjustments. There was a tiny adjustments was brought up because Deborah Wright did put a complaint in, because the lightings at the station is part DOT. Keith Burr, who's the represent DOT representing Brooklyn, did work on the lighting over there. The only problem that it's on the list now, it's in the 20-year assessment, is to add an accessible station there. That is still in there, and it was still in proposal. And regarding the station link for the outside transfer, it's still in the blueprint, because now with IBX added to it, it's gonna be a transfer connection, but there should be more details coming up soon, because what I'm hearing, they have to do an adjustment, because where the station has to be and where you're transferring from the LIR to the L train to the AC and J, it's going to be more difficult, because it's not just a city issue, it's a state and federal combined. Right now, the first step is starting with the AC platform, then it will be the J and L trains. It is going to be the most highest one of all, because Senator Roxanne Prasad is aware of this, state senator. All the officials, including Charles Barron, who was elected officials, are been on top of this. We only have to see is just keep our eyes and ears pierced. And they did add additional cameras at the platform, because I was on the train yesterday and I did see a camera. It was both directions. They did say they did add cameras. So I hope that helps you. I can't see your name because it's a little small, Brad.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. That's very helpful context. Lighting and accessibility, very important, but kind of like you're getting to, just I think even expanding the scope and looking at like DOT jurisdiction of improving Atlantic Avenue and other nearby sites will be relevant, like beyond even what the MTA and DOT controls directly under the overpass, because as you know, it's a complicated site with like the overpass and then an underpass and then the at grade. So it may become relevant to push for an even larger project than what people are considering.
I agree with you 100% on that, and I have been saying that since day one. I have mentioned this to Q and the Long Island Railroad's president, because this has been brought up on the Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force. With that station, because there's one big issue. Crossing the street when you get off the train is also an issue there too. And just to let Jerry know that they have been getting MTA police showing up to East New York Station. And I just found that out today, because I was at a ceremony today at Grand Central, and the chief told me. So, thank you, everyone, and I do have new business when we get to our business.
Alrighty, well, if there's no other old business, you just roll right into new business. Did you say you had something there, Chris?
Yes, and I think you'll like it, Jerry, because this is the part I always love doing every year in July. As you know, this year is not just 8835. It is also celebrating the 10th year of the Disability Pride Month. So I do want to wish everyone, including wherever you are, and thank you, Lisa, for putting in the ZA eligible project. Thank you. I almost forgot that. Thank you. Want to wish everyone a happy Disability Pride Month, 8835. So please, everyone, thank you, everyone, and celebrate what things we did accomplish 35 years already. We are moving forward in a happiness day. Thank you.
All right, well, that sounds like a good note to wrap things up on, unless somebody's got something else. If not, we'll call the meeting adjourned at 4:34 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.